Good afternoon. My name is Paolo and I'm the Assistant PRO of PNA North Houston. I'd like to welcome you all to the first ever Getting to Know session. With me today is a leader and a trailblazer. She is the previous Director of Critical Care Services at Houston Methodist Willowbrook Hospital, and she is now the Vice President of Patient Care Services Critical Care at Baylor St. Medical Center. She is also the President-elect of PNA North Houston. Please help me welcome Ms. Mila Sprouse. Ms. Mila, thank you for this opportunity and for also giving us the pleasure of getting to know you.
It's my pleasure.
Ate, a lot of people want to ask you this, and I was thinking about the questions to ask you today. If I were to ask someone, who is Mila Sprouse, what would you like that person to say, and how would you describe yourself?
Well, that's a really great question, and I've always been very comfortable with what I think others would tell me because it's who I am. I think what they're going to say is that I'm a kind and very passionate person, but I set expectations, and I'm very much real, and this is me, and that's what you're going to get from others.
That's a good one. That really does describe a leader, you know, for me personally when she was describing herself. You moved here in the United States, Ate. How old were you, and what year was that?
I was 23, 24 in 1982. That was a long time ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So now looking back, you know, at that time, the previous you, would you say, did you expect this to happen? Did you hope for this to happen? And you know, the young you, would you have dreamed to be where you are right now?
That's an excellent question. I've never thought of myself being in this position. However, I've always known that I'm going to be very successful in anything that I do because I'm very focused on what I do. And what I have done throughout the years is really look at what's ahead of me and then be passionate about it, take it with a purpose and with your heart, and I was able to accomplish it. And then I look at opportunities and where I was at that time along the way, where I am at this time, it's always, wow, am I ready to take this responsibility? And that's what I have done. I work on it every step of the way, not looking beyond what I have in front of me, because I feel like that I have to be focused on what I have at that time. So no, I didn't actually think about being a vice president in this position a long time ago. I always know that I'm going to be successful, and the reason why I felt that way, I had an excellent parents, especially my mother, who always believe in what I do. And so I believe in myself no matter what, and no matter how difficult it is, I know I can accomplish that.
So my next question for you is, being the Vice President of Patient Care Services, the Critical Care Unit at Baylor St. Medical Center, you obviously carry a lot of responsibilities over your shoulders. How do you prevent burnout? And also, how do you manage stress, the daily stress of being in your position?
So last week was my first week as the Vice President, and I felt like over the years, I have prepared myself to be where I'm at, and that includes work-life balance. And I know that I'm going into a responsibility that is humongous, and it's going to be 10 times what I was used to doing. But I always, again, believe in myself that as long as I'm focused on what I have ahead of me, I will be able to be successful. Having said that, the responsibility that big has to actually be impacting me in the future. So I actually took a 2-week break between my last job and this position because I wanted to decompress and I really wanted to be prepared on what's ahead of me. And my husband, my favorite husband, I call him, is my only husband, always told me, do what you always do all these years that made you successful. And when it comes to work-life balance, I come home to my favorite husband, and he's there to listen to all the things that I have actually experienced in the clinical setting. Even with my first week, he heard about a lot of those things, even though he did not know the people and the setup. He was there listening to me, and that to me is very important. The other thing too is that on the weekends, we really try to do things for ourselves, whether we sleep late or we get in the car and drive someplace without a purpose, just to be together and think about what we need to do in the future. And that's how I maintained work-life balance. And I love to do stand-up paddleboard. And he always tries to find a place for me to do stand-up paddleboard because he knows that that's just like my time for myself, and he cheers me on when I'm in that stand-up paddleboard. So I love doing that.
That actually uses a lot of your core, so that really is like an exercise.
Yes,
right
it
there.
is.
I used to think that it was like really easy and also like, it was doable until I tried it. Right. And yes, it does. It's not easy as you think it is. Ade, what makes a good leader?
Paolo, I have been immersed in leadership in the last 7 years, not from the experience itself, but also my dissertation is about leadership. And I have found that no one leadership style is going to be the perfect one for a group of people. You have to be very situational, and what makes a great leader or a good leader or an effective leader is that you have to be very respectful to others. When you have that respect, it impacts how you communicate with everyone. It impacts on how you deal with everyone. It impacts in everything during a crisis, because you have to take a pause and you have to really reflect before you say something, because words and actions will impact people and it will actually form that individual's growth, the way you actually communicate to them. To me, that is the bottom line of leadership, and I cannot overemphasize that. Respect is very important. It is something that will push me out of an organization if I see that is not happening. And I found myself in Baylor St. because I see that their values align with mine.
So with that note, Ate, would you say that would you rather be liked or respected?
Well, my previous answer to your question actually says it all. Respect is very important to me, and I would rather be respected than be liked, because when you're respected, like and love actually goes with it, and that's very important to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good one. Because when I was thinking about how to approach this question personally, I actually didn't think about it that way. I was thinking about choosing one, and so you really did tackle that good. And I honestly think that that's a good point to take out from this video. I think that respect is something that we really have to give.
It's a huge thing. Yes.
So how would you define success, and how would you measure it?
To a lot, success is about being in a great position or the possession of wealth.
Right.
That's how they define success. In reality, to me, success is about overcoming challenges, obstacles, as well as failures. That to me is the meaning of success. When you have that, no one can take that away from you. No one, nothing can take that away from you. And how do I measure success? It is actually about yourself. I always see success as the people that is closest to me. I'm the happiest, and I felt like I reached success because I have my family with me. I have my loving husband of 37 years. I have our daughter who's 37 soon, and our 27-year-old son. And that to me is success. Success is also about my parents, who actually sent me to school despite the poverty that we went through growing up, and they sent me without any questions. And I know that along the way they piled a lot of promissory notes for me to actually graduate, and of course we paid every bit of it.
Yeah.
But I wish they can see me now, because that's what they were hoping for. That to me is success, not about the position you're in, nor the possession of wealth you have. That to me is success.
That really keeps me emotional. The words that are coming out, from this conversation, because it really is. I think that success is also really subjective, and also, if I ask this question to probably someone else, someone would have a different answer. And you were right. Someone, maybe someone young would definitely answer wealth or possessions for this question. So thank you for sharing your wisdom. I think I'm learning so much from this, from this session, really, and I hope that you guys are too. My next question, Ade, would be, as the president-elect of PNANH, what would you like to achieve in your leadership reign?
That's a great question. The PNANH and the support of the PNAA actually have laid out a great thing for me as an incoming president. And what I would like to do is build on it. But what I also would like to do is build leaders. In each and every one of us, we are leaders. When we mentor someone, you are a leader. When you're talking to someone, you're a leader, because you're creating that model for that someone to actually replicate what you're doing. So I want to build a new version of leadership. And what it means is that I go back to the first question you asked, or the second. Everyone needs to be respectful with each other, whether in conversations, whether in meetings. Everyone has a voice. And I want the team and be allowed to make mistakes, because that's what makes you better. You don't make mistakes, it's not going to make you better. And I want that culture. Create a culture of leadership that is respectful, allowing others to have a voice. And you know what? Everything else is going to be okay. We're going to be unstoppable if we have the basic things built there. And building on what the PNAA has done and all the past presidents of PNA North Houston, we add the layer and we will be unstoppable.
Wow. There was a quote that I read recently, I think would be relevant for this conversation. The quote was, "Leaders are not born or made, they chose to be leaders." Do you agree?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Leadership is about being resilient, and you have to develop that resiliency. I'm a huge, I think I know where you read that. I read a lot of books, Simon Sinek, Brené Brown, Maxwell. Also, I'm a huge believer of Angela Duckworth about resiliency and grit. And in leadership, I think we need to have that basic You have to be respectful. And then you need to have grit, because in leadership and even just being with each other and being friends, there's always going to be a leader in that group of friends, right? You need to be adaptable and be resilient and bounce back. And so, to answer your question, it's a learned behavior, and you have to be intentional about learning that. It can be a born instinct, right? That, hey, this one is really very talkative, and she always gets in front, or he always gets in front. But that doesn't make you a leader right away. You have to learn it. And so putting all of that together, and then your desire to actually be better, because one of the things a leader does is actually impact others. If you have that in your mind, that what you do is going to help others, I think that's the greatest purpose of a leader. Yes.
Oh, that's a good one. I really don't want to ask this, but this would be like my final question. I wish I had more. I am really learning a lot from this conversation, Ate. So my final question for you would be, for all of our members who look up to you, including myself, and wants to follow your footsteps, what would be your advice?
Take a deep breath. Again, the basic things, develop that human kindness, that respect to others, and then develop communication skills. And when I say communication skills, it's not about being able to speak well, or have the diction, or have the pronunciation. Communication is about intentional listening. Listen to what others say before you say something. And when you listen, you actually are not forming a response already in your head, because that's not intentional. Because when you're sitting back and just watch others, you actually will learn from it. And from that, you actually start thinking, is that the right thing I need to do to grow as a leader? If you have those listening skills, it will carry you a long way. And that's what I've done all these years. And when there's opportunity out there, opportunity is only not once in your lifetime. And so make the decision and have the courage to make the decision for yourself and for your family, no one else. Because it is you who defines that success. It is you who defines yourself, no one else. And so you have to do that yourself. And also be aware of where you are, your environment. There are great people out there that's going to mentor you. And I thank God that I actually met these people that actually helped me what I am today. And just to say this, I continue to learn. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. And you know what's the one thing I always do? I reflect on a lot of the things that I do. Reflect with my husband, because he always gives me the real answer. Do you think that that's the right way to actually say something? And he will give his perspective. You need to have that person in your life that can honestly tell you about yourself. And sometimes it hurts, but you know what? It's okay. That's how you grow.
Yeah.
And the last thing about it, great people, you also need to recognize a toxic environment. Toxic environment kills the motivation and the joy, which is very important, and it will impact your family. You work with it, but there's a time that you have to make your decision, and then it's time to move on, because you owe it to yourself. When you talk about work-life balance, healthy mind, healthy spirit, and healthy physically, it's being in an environment that makes you motivated to work You have leaders that support you. You have leaders that actually respect you. And you have leaders that's ready to hear your voice, no matter what kind of voice you have. And that's exactly what I want everyone, and even my kids, when I have that conversation with them. That's one thing we actually talk, because they know where I'm at in my career. My daughter has a business. She is a leader. Our son is a leader. And we actually amazingly read the same books. And so we share those things. So read books, immerse yourself in leadership books, because it tells you a lot of things about yourself, whether this is what you want to do or this is what you don't want to do. And lastly, when you're interacting with people, listen to them. You come home, you reflect on that conversation, and you will say, what she said is what I want to actually emulate, and what she did. What she said is not what I want to be, and you stay away from it.
Right.
Yes. It's learning and being resilient and gritty, as well as just really overcoming the obstacles in life.
Yeah.
That, to me, will spell success.
And on that note, as much as I don't want to do this, I will end the interview or this session, actually, the getting to know session with Ate Mila. And I hope that everyone who's watching will be able to learn from this conversation. And I'll see you on the next one.